Welcome to Revenge with Lyra.
Take my sister instead of the money. Just don't touch me. Those were the exact words my brother screamed before diving behind the couch like a coward. The moment replayed in slow motion, his voice shaking, his eyes wild, as if he'd forgotten I was his sister and not some disposable shield. My name is Aria Monroe. I'm 27 years old, and that was the moment I stopped being family. The men who stormed our living room looked like wolves in suits. 3 of them, one in particular standing out. Tall, expressionless, wearing black gloves and a darker stare. The air smelled of fear and cheap cologne. "Where's the money, Mr. Monroe?" the leader asked coolly. My brother, trembling, pointed straight at me. "Take her. She's useless anyway." I couldn't breathe. For a second, my mind went blank, just a sharp ringing in my ears and my mother's portrait on the walls staring down in silent judgment. Then the man in the black suit turned to look at me. His gaze froze. His jaw tightened, and his voice, once cold, changed.
Wait.
"What did you just say?" He took a step closer, eyes locked on my face. The room fell silent except for my brother's pathetic whimpering. The man leaned in, his voice low and sharp as a blade. "You tried to hand over the niece of Eleanor Monroe, owner of Goldcrest Industries?" His next words made my blood run cold. "You just made a fatal mistake." Silence. You could have heard a pin drop. My brother's face went blank, his mouth half open, eyes darting between the man in black and me. "And niece of who?" he stammered, but it was already too late. The man straightened his tie, gave a faint nod to his men, and they shifted, tension rippling through the room like static. One of them quietly locked the front door. Another pulled down the blinds. My stomach twisted, not from fear, but from what I knew was about to happen. "You mean to tell me," the man said softly, almost amused, "you tried to sell her to clear a gambling debt?" He tilted his head toward me. "Do you even know who you're messing with?" My brother's voice cracked. I didn't know. She doesn't even talk to that side of the family." That was true. I hadn't spoken to Aunt Eleanor in 5 years. Not since she accused me of choosing my brother over the company when he drained our parents' savings. But even distance doesn't erase bloodlines. The man's demeanor shifted completely. He turned to me, his tone respectful now. "Ms. Monroe, I had no idea. Forgive the intrusion. We have other business to handle." I stared at him, stunned. "What kind of business?" He smiled slightly. "The kind that corrects mistakes." Behind me, my brother whispered, "Aria, tell them to stop." For the first time in my life, I didn't. They dragged him from behind the couch like a rag doll. My brother's voice broke into sobs as they pinned him to the floor. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. The man in black crouched down beside him. "You see, Mr. Monroe, there's a difference between owing money and offending power. You did both." He glanced at me briefly, a small, almost imperceptible nod, before continuing. "Goldcrest Industries is more than a corporation. It's a fortress. And you tried to barter the blood of its own." My brother kept screaming my name like it was a shield. "Aria, please. Tell them you're not with her anymore. Tell them you're broke, just like me." But I wasn't broke, not anymore. Not after years of swallowing pride and building myself back up, piece by piece, quietly working as a logistics analyst while he gambled away our parents' legacy. I looked at him and finally spoke. "You sold your soul the day you took Dad's watch to the casino. This is just the receipt." The man in black rose slowly. "We'll leave you alive," he said to my brother, "because death would be too kind."
He turned to me.
"Ms. Monroe, we'll ensure you're compensated for this inconvenience." I shook my head. "Keep your money." He looked intrigued. "Then what do you want?" I looked at my trembling brother. "Justice," I said, "and I'll deliver it myself." They left 15 minutes later, silent, efficient, like shadows that had never existed. But they didn't leave empty-handed. They took every ledger, contract, and loan document my brother had signed with their name on it. The moment the door clicked shut, the house felt different. Heavy, like the walls themselves had heard too much. My brother collapsed to his knees, shaking. "Aria, please," he whimpered. I didn't know they'd come for me like that. I stared at him, my pulse steady, my voice even. "You never know, do you? You didn't know when you emptied mom's savings. You didn't know when you pawned dad's medals. You didn't know when you nearly sold your own sister. He looked up at me, tears cutting through the grime on his face. You don't understand. I was desperate. I crouched down to his level, the edge of my tone sharper than any threat.
No.
You were greedy. There's a difference. He flinched, his gaze darting to the door like he expected those men to burst back in. They won't hurt you again, I said quietly, but they'll ruin you.
Completely.
Every debt, every lie, it's already in motion. They don't forgive betrayal. He grabbed my wrist. Arya, please stop them. I'll change, I swear. I pulled my hand free. You had years to change. I turned and walked toward the door. For once, I'm not saving you, I said without looking back. I'm saving what's left of me. The night swallowed me whole as I stepped outside. Rain had started to fall, the kind of soft, steady rain that washes away lies. I stood there under it, letting it soak through my hair, my jacket, my anger. For the first time in years, I wasn't trembling. I wasn't afraid. I was awake. I pulled my phone from my pocket and scrolled to a number I hadn't called in forever. Eleanor Goldcrest. My aunt, the CEO. The woman who once told me, one day, you'll learn that forgiveness and weakness are not the same. When she answered, her voice was the same, crisp, controlled.
Arya.
And Eleanor, I said. You were right. There was a pause. About what, darling? About family. About knowing when to let rot fall away. Her tone shifted, the faintest softness beneath the steel. Then I assume your brother finally crossed the final line? Yes, I whispered. He tried to sell me. The silence that followed was surgical, cold, and calculated. Then, I see. I hesitated, then added. The men who came tonight, they knew who I was. They acted on it. Her voice didn't change. Of course they did. I made sure of it. I froze. You what? I've kept an eye on him for years, Arya, she said simply. And on you. You've just proven which one of you deserves to carry the Monroe name. I stood under the rain, stunned into silence. Her words echoed through me, cold, deliberate, final. You knew? I asked, my voice breaking between disbelief and fury. Of course, she replied calmly. You don't grow an empire like Goldcrest without knowing where the rot begins. Your brother's debts, his scams, they've been circling us for years. Tonight, he wrote his own obituary. My hand trembled around the phone. You used me. No, she said softly. I tested you. I needed to know if you'd become another Monroe coward or something better. I let out a sharp laugh that sounded more like a sob. So, you sent men to my home? To scare him and me? To protect you, she corrected. And to remind him that family isn't a shield for corruption. It's a mirror. It reflects who you truly are. I sank down on the porch steps, my wet hair clinging to my face. So what now? I whispered. Now, she said, her voice shifting into something almost proud. You come home. I don't have a home. You do, she said. Goldcrest was built by your grandfather, not by me. It's your bloodline, too. You've earned your place back, but you'll have to take it. I looked through the rain toward the dim house behind me, where my brother's shadow moved through the blinds like a ghost. I will, I said, but not out of revenge, out of survival. 3 days later, I stood in front of the glass tower of Goldcrest Industries. My reflection stared back at me, tired, determined, reborn. Inside, everything smelled of marble, power, and silence. I hadn't been here since my father's funeral. The same portraits lined the walls, my grandfather in his prime, and Eleanor younger, but just as intimidating, and now an empty space waiting for the next generation. Eleanor was waiting in her office, surrounded by sunlight and expensive indifference. She looked up, a faint smile playing on her lips. You came. I nodded. You said it was time. She gestured for me to sit. Goldcrest doesn't run on mercy, Arya. It runs on precision and loyalty. You proved both. I met her gaze. You mean I proved I can walk away from blood? Her smile widened slightly. That's exactly what I mean. She slid a sleek folder across the desk. Your brother's accounts, assets, and the company's shares father left him. All frozen. I'm transferring them to you under trusteeship. You'll manage them until he qualifies for redemption if he ever does. I stared at the papers. So, I take everything? No, she said firmly. You reclaim what was stolen. Her words landed deep, sharp as truth. I took the pen, signed the documents, and felt the weight of an old life crumble. For the first time, I wasn't a victim of the Monroe legacy. I was the legacy. A week later, I returned to the small, broken house where everything had begun. The front door hung crooked, the wallpaper peeled, and the air reeked of stale regret. My brother sat at the kitchen table, hollow-eyed, trembling, sober for once. He looked up when he saw me. They took everything, he rasped. The accounts, the car, even the house gone. Was that you? I set my purse down, calm, collected. No, I said quietly. That was you. I just stopped saving you from the consequences. He gave a hollow laugh. You think you're better than me now? Sitting in your fancy tower. I stepped closer, my heels echoing on the cracked tile. No, I don't think I'm better. I think I finally became who I was meant to be, without you dragging me down. He slammed his fist on the table, but the sound was weak, empty. They're calling you the Iron Heir, you know, he sneered. And Eleanor's little prodigy. I leaned in. If that's what it takes to make sure no one ever tries to sell their own blood again, then yes, I'll wear it proudly. He looked away, defeated. So this is it? This is closure, I said. You live with your choices. I'll live with mine. I turned to leave, pausing at the door. And one day, when you've paid every debt, maybe you'll understand the cost of betrayal. I walked out into the rain, free, untouchable, unstoppable.